It's Hammer time. Ryan Hammer joins us to preview Arizona basketball. Does he think they can make a deep run to contend to win the Big 12? Maybe make a deep madness run in Tommy Lloyd's year 5. Find out next on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Leaf Tulane, your resident college basketball guru, stats nerd, point guard by game, and ball knower by trade. I'm excited to chop it up with Arizona hoops. Man, right here we got Ryan Hammer today, and I'm delighted to be joined by him. He's known for creating the Trapezoid of Excellence, and we'll talk about, does Arizona fit into that? And he's also hosting a wonderful podcast, the Blue Blooded podcast, that I have been listening to, getting my spiel on other teams as well as a true college basketball sicko. Thank you guys for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen each and every day. And remember, Locked On Wildcats is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Wildcats, where the best way to help us grow is to comment anything below. And today's question is, what goes right for Arizona to achieve the heights, and what could go wrong for them to kind of be at the floor that we're going to talk about here? Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So today on the show, I teased it already. We'll go over my thoughts, Ryan's thoughts on Arizona basketball and just how good they can be. What does he think of my comparison to Duke that I told you guys about and in terms of roster composition? And what goes right for Arizona to be a top 2 seed, and what happens if the wheels fall off? So without further ado, thank you for joining, Ryan. I'm really excited to talk to you. I've been following you from afar for a while, and excited to have you on the pod in my first week hosting.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate the love and the support, and I'm happy to be here. So
awesome. Well, let's dive right in. First things first, I told the Wildcats fans, and I'll break down my thoughts here. I think this Arizona team saw Duke twice last year and said, well, that's the formula to win. And we have the guys for it. Koa Pete, bear with me here. He roughly resembles Cooper Flagg in this equation. Burries, a little bit like Con Knipple. Krivas and Awaka, the combination, a little bit like Kaman Malawach and Malik Brown. Bradley, a little bit like Sion James as a defensive pest, an absolute hound. Delorso as Proctor as 40% three-point shooters. They're not identical. I'm not saying they are, but I think that's the recipe in college basketball. All the Final Four teams played big, and many, many other teams are playing bigger. I think Tommy Lloyd's implementing that. He already played pretty big, and I think now he saw, hey, I've got a rare guy in Koa Pete, and I'm going to kind of build the team like John Shire was open about in terms of building his team around Cooper Flagg. Do you think there's any credence to that, or are you seeing the vision?
I see the vision a little bit. I definitely see the vision of like playing bigger in the style that Duke played, generically being like a formula for success if you have the right guys. And obviously Arizona knowing Duke pretty well, and Tommy Lloyd's smart. He's intelligent. He adapts. He's a good basketball mind, not just a good coach. I think on paper on the roster, I don't see it a ton because like the bigs are different. Kaman Malawach, I don't think Krivas is like that. I don't think Awaka. Some similarities in the front court. The Cooper Flagg and Koa Pete thing, I don't see, especially because Arizona is going to run a lot of playmaking out of the backcourt. Natural guards, Jaden Bradley, like Brayden Burries, like they're going to run through the guards majority of the time. Where I think Duke wasn't sure they were going to have a true point guard. Like Proctor played the true point, but they played through Khan, they played through Cooper on the wing and at the forward spots a lot. So it was a little different where I think Arizona will be a little more classic style through the guards because they have those guards to play through. I also don't think Koa Pete, I don't think it'd be respectful to Cooper Flagg to say that he's going to be like Cooper Flagg this year too.
And I said the same thing. I don't want it to be the fans know this. I said that Cooper Flagg's generational, and I think there's a world in which Koa Pete is all Big 12. I think there's a world in which he's a top 10 draft pick, but I don't feel like those are guarantees. Whereas last year, I felt almost certain that Cooper Flagg was going to win National Player of the Year before the season started, and he did. So I agree with you there. The one thing I'll push back on a little bit here is I do think there's a world that Cooper Flagg, in the way that he played at Duke, he was really their point guard, in my opinion. I think he was the one who stirred the drink for them. I think there's a world that Arizona plays through the mid post with Koa Pete, and he's the advantage creator. It's not necessarily the same, like he's going to operate the offense from the top. That's going to be Jaden Bradley. But he's going to be the advantage creator, and he's going to draw doubles and kick the ball out, and they'll play in the half court like this. And like I texted you in terms of notes, I think Arizona is going to play very quickly. And so I don't think they're going to have to create in that same way here that maybe Duke did. Duke was a little more methodical than I anticipate Arizona being.
Yeah, I see that. And I think the Koa thing, I agree with. I just think it'll be more of like a diversification in what they're showing offensively more than doing that majority of the time like Duke did because Cooper's so good. But in the sense that you're saying, I see that for sure.
All righty. Well, this one, I'm curious to see if you'll see more than that one, because that one I know is bold. This one I think is bold as well, but I don't think it's crazy, and I'll back it up here. So bear with me here. The everydayers have heard this take already. So I said this: Arizona in Tommy Lloyd's first 3 years, they were a 1 seed, a 2 seed, and a 2 seed. They were top 20 in pace all of those 3 years. They were 9th the year they were 1. The year that they lost to Princeton, they were 15th in pace and 16th in pace. That the year they lost to Clemson, the Sweet 16. Last year, they were in his 4th year, they were 49th in pace, and they were a 4 seed, and they really struggled at the beginning of the season. I guaranteed fans that this team would be top 20 in pace this season because I don't think Tommy Lloyd's going to stray from it. I also said I'm pretty darn sure that they're going to be a top 10 rebounding differential among power conference teams. So against power conference teams, I think they're going to be top 10 in rebounding differential and pace. And I wouldn't say guarantee, but I strongly believe this will be a top 20 defense due to their size. To me, that equals a top 2 seed in March. Am I crazy?
If those things all happen, then they're definitely going to be a top 3 seed. If it depends on like tiny things, 2 or 3. But if all those things happen, then yeah, I take my chance and say they're going to be a top 2 seed. I think I agree that Lloyd likes to play faster, and he notices that that's the recipe for success for his style of team. And they have a team to do it. Like they have having 2 guards with a good wing who can run the floor also, and a really good 3-and-D freshman coming in, and bigs who can run a little bit too. Like I think they have a team to play a faster pace. That's the way that Lloyd likes to play, the way that he succeeded the most. Like you said, I would agree that they're going to play a faster style. I don't know how much it translates to March success per se, depending on who you play, obviously. But in terms of regular season success, I think that's the way they go about it. And I agree. They're big, they're strong, they're athletic. They should be one of the better rebounding teams in the country. The defensive thing, I think it'll be really close because if they do play a faster pace, it'll be much harder to be a top defense. You see teams that end up playing faster over the years, Alabama, Illinois, Kentucky, they lose because of defense a lot of the times, and their defense ends up suffering because they're playing such an open-ended game. So I think that one, if the first one is they're playing so much faster, and that's true, the defense one will be very close to top 20. But I 100% see the vision there.
So my take on defense is essentially Mo Krivas was out last year. In Mo Krivas's year prior, so his 23-24 campaign, Arizona's defense allowed on 2-pointers alone 36% field goal percentage. So like that includes layups, dunks, fast breaks, just when he's in the game. And so I think they're going to be more able to play aggressively on the wings. They've got a guy in Koa Pete who can play. He doesn't limit you in terms of size, and he also can switch. They can do so many different things. In the scrimmage against St. Mary's, they switch 1 through 4, plenty. And I just think that they have the versatility to speed the game up, funnel into Krivas, get some steals, run out, and that's where the transition comes in. I agree with you. The faster they play, that's why it's a risk. That's why I said I didn't guarantee that one. But I'm pretty high on Arizona in general, as those stats would indicate. You're known for the Trapezoid of Excellence. I want you to explain it rather than me. I've read about it for years. Do you think that Arizona has the capacity to be within the Trapezoid of Excellence, and can you give a tiny bit of background on that?
I'm gonna say no, actually. So first off, the trapezoid is basically a theory that uses pace and pace and efficiency, overall efficiency of the theory is basically the faster or slower you play on the extreme outlier side, the better you have to do it to be able to succeed in March and win a national championship because of you're playing different types of opponents. You don't know who you're playing, just quick turnarounds, a day or two at times. So you need to be adaptable to different styles of teams, and those teams end up winning. It has been proven. It uses recent national champions as its base with a little bit of variability, but it has worked. The fast teams end up losing when they play a team they're not comfortable playing, and they can't play that fast style. So I think that's been Arizona's downfall in the last few years, where they play a team that kind of takes them completely out of that. Princeton was a good example. They slow the pace down, and then they were amazing shooting the lights out. So that was a good memory, like a good example of that. But that's the example of, that's the theory of it all, how the basis of it. Arizona, to me, either is the best when they play really fast, and they have to do it like at levels that they haven't done it yet under Tommy Lloyd. They have to be even better than they ever have been under him, which is their bet, to me, is the best that they can be, or they have to slow it down, which like last year they weren't very good at. Could that change? There was only one season and maybe the personnel changed 100%, but I would take my chance on no, because at least they could crack in and out of it. But at some point by March in the postseason, there's usually anywhere from 5 to 8 teams cracking into it. So you need to be one of the elite top 10 to 15 teams in the country for sure, and then have to fit the pace part also.
So I think they can. I agree. Pace is the one that's different. So how about this? We revisit this come March. Should they be in it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we'll do a follow up then in March. Should they be in it? But that you led me perfectly into the next idea. We're going to debate where Arizona finishes in the Big 12, because if they finish highly in the Big 12, they'll be within that top 10 because the Big 12 is loaded. We got that. Expectations for the star freshman, and what could go right, what can go wrong, all that and more ahead on Locked On Wildcats. One of the tools that can help make a huge difference for businesses is Quo. It's formerly Open Phone, but it's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, but with just a new name. It's Quo. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is more money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines computer communications, and it works right through your phone, right through an app on your phone or on your computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. I love how Quo, formerly known as Open Phone, lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. That's and get started for free you can get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's quo.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. And I also want to tell you guys all about FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And it makes watching football even better, even more exciting when you got something right on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel can make the game's day experience so much better. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel has you covered, so don't want to miss. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app and get started. All righty, welcome back to Locked On Wildcats. I'm Leaf Tulane, joined by Ryan Hammer, and he disproved my theory. At least he doesn't believe that the Arizona Wildcats are going to be in the Trapezoid of Excellence. I will keep you posted on this when he posts those graphics, so we'll keep that up to date. But the question that I've got for you, and perhaps the more pertinent one, is where do you see Arizona landing within the Big 12? Because most people think it's a 6-team race as the top 6. I think there's a pretty good line of delineation. But where in that top 6 does Arizona fall for you, and why?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I will say about the 6, and I will also say that it's the best top 6 of any league in the country. I think the Big 12 is back to prominence this year. The SEC is not as top heavy as it was last year. They're only going to have 2 to 3 real top teams in the country, where any of these teams of Houston, BYU, in no order, Texas Tech, Arizona, Kansas, I don't know who the 6th one, Iowa State, any of those 6 could be, and probably will be, top 10 at some point in the year. Like, that was my hot take for the Big 12, that all 6 of those teams will crack the top 10 at some point. Obviously, 3 of them are starting the year there, but the other 3 will get in there. I have Arizona at 6, but I really was like between 4, 5, and 6. I was just kind of like almost like a crapshoot between them, Kansas, and Iowa State. I was like, I could pick and choose and nitpick. The reason why I said 6 is because the floor of Iowa State is astounding. The TJ Otzelberger system, the defensive system that they have there, the scheme. They also have a good team. Josh Jefferson, Tamin Lipsey, Milan Momcilovic returning is a great core. I don't love the rest of their team, but I think it's good enough. They're just not going to have as high of a ceiling, but I love them. And I do think Kansas is being underrated a little bit. Darren Peterson, talent-wise, best player to me in the Big 12. Him, AJ, like it's hard to kind of go around there, but I think Darren's going to have like a Cade Cunningham-like year that he had at Oklahoma State. And I think the cast is underrated for Kansas. The reason why I had Arizona at 6, which it might change very, very fast, and they could finish as high as 2 or 3, like we were talking about earlier, is that the freshmen. How good are the freshmen going to be? Koa Pete's awesome. I love Brayden Burries. I love Dwayne Aristode. He's like super underrated to me because he didn't play last year. He was hurt. He's like a freakish defender, like a ridiculous defender, great 3-and-D wing prospect for the NBA. Those 3 guys, like they could end up being the 3 most important players on the team. Maybe Jaden Bradley's the best player. Maybe Krivos ends up being the better player. Like they have a really good set of like 6 players and a couple of other pieces to add. I just don't know who the alpha is going to be, how the balance looks between them. Are they too balanced, or is no one able to take over? It's probably Jaden Bradley early on. I think Brayden Burries actually might end up being the best player at some point. Could be Koa. Again, that's I like the team. I'm just unsure of the unknown. And you can say that for some of the other teams for sure. I just feel a little more confident in the KU and Iowa State things going into the season at least.
So I have a few pushbacks in terms of that, but I want to start with this because you led me into it really well. What do you think the points per game? You don't have to give me like the in-depth stuff is, but like if you're going to say that Bradley, Pete, and Burries are the top 3 scorers, I think most people would agree with you. But what do you think the points per game for each of those guys looks like?
Yeah, I feel like that's a good question. I'd probably say together they put up something close to like 40-ish is my guess, a little over 40. Man, they should run the floor now that I'm thinking about it and pump the pace up with these guys on the team. I'll say that Jaden puts up like 15 a game. Koa's probably in a similar spot, and Brayden's probably at like 12 points a game, I'll say. So what is that, 42?
So you're not too far off from me. I projected Burries and Bradley at 15 a game. And I haven't done my Pete projection yet, but I'd honestly say probably around 15 as well. Yeah. I did some analytical digging, and Bart Torvik had Bradley at 15.3 and Koa at 15. So
okay.
I did that without looking at that, and I was kind of in that same spot. You're there as well. Let me ask you a question because I know you're high on Mo Krivos. I think he's going to be the starter. We'll dive into that later on Locked On Wildcats, so the fans that I'll talk about the pluses and the minuses of Krivos and Awaka. I think he holds the key for Arizona. If he's really good, I think their defense, it takes that leap and is top 20. And that's why he's the key, along with the offensive rebounding capacity at his size. What are your expectations for him? And then I'll kind of give you my pushback as to why I think they'll end up being quite good and far exceed 6th in the Big 12.
Yeah, and you might be right. And that the more I talk about them player by player, I'm like, damn, I'm kind of stupid for saying that. But then I go to Iowa State, and then I go to Kansas, then I go to Texas Tech. I'm like, damn, these teams are good. But I agree. Krivos should be their 5. Their ceiling is so much higher with him as the main 5 over Awaka. They could play both them at times when the spacing is better with the guards if Koa Pete's shooting the ball well, or they play 3 guards and the 2 bigs. And I think that Krivos definitely unleashes their ceiling a lot more. Where look at a team like BYU when they had Fouche Traore on the floor, like he ended up being their bench big at time, even though he started for a while before that. And that's not a bad thing. Like Toby Awaka is good. He's just not great in my opinion. He's a really serviceable role playing big, but Krivos has much more potential and a higher ceiling. And obviously he's massive. He's tall. He can run the floor. He's a freak. One of them is unicorns. Neither offers really, like there's no spacing, but I think that Krivos 100% agree with that. And I would love to hear your case for the Arizona and how high you have them. Even though I'm probably going to agree with whatever you say, to be honest. So,
okay. So here's my case. I think Arizona, if you look at roster composition, has as much talent as anyone in the Big 12, including Houston. And I know Houston is the safer pick because Houston has all the accolades. Kelvin Sampson's fantastic. They bring back 3 starters. I will say I have Houston 1, but I don't think it's like a runaway train. Like last year they were 19-1. I think second in the conference was 15-5. And so if you look at that, I think it's going to be close. I think the top 3 are all going to be close.
Yeah.
But Houston loses a couple players, like important players. They lost an All-American in LJ Cryer, but more importantly, in my opinion, the heartbeat of their team, Juwan Roberts. And so I think they regress a little bit, and I think Arizona goes number 2 in the Big 12, the closest to contending with Houston because of the way that they have just a unique blend of physicality and skill. Houston and Arizona are going to be the 2 best rebounding teams in this conference. Arizona is going to play fast, like I said, and they're going to defend their home court like many of these Big 12 teams are. I think they're going to score north of 80 points per game. And I think defensively, yeah, they may give up more points, but in terms of points per possession, if Mo Krivas is healthy, I really do believe in this team. And the question to me is really just how well they shoot the ball. And if they shoot the ball well, I think they have that capacity. So that's my big X factor. I'm giving away the cards early before we go into that. But Texas Tech, I really love. I really love, but I don't think their depth is on par. And should there be one injury? I don't want there to be, but should there be an injury, I think there's fewer pieces for Texas Tech that can help them navigate that than there are for Arizona or Houston. And then I think if you look at Iowa State, I agree their floor is unbelievably high. I almost took them even higher. But I just think that there's so many talented teams that they're not going to win as easily with that floor. They just need a little more offense that they lose from Curtis Jones and Keyshawn Gilbert. As for BYU, I just need to see it. I need to see how who has the ball when. Does Rob Wright have it? He's not a particularly good shooter. Does Richie Saunders still get involved the same way? AJ's obviously got an enormous hype train. Offensively, they're going to be awesome. I need to see some defense. And I just think Arizona's got a more projectable formula because Tommy Lloyd in 4 years has a 78% win percentage. Like the guy wins. And the gripe has been in March. I don't think there's any regular season issue. So that is the goal, be better in March. But I think the regular season still has to be good. Last year, there's too many moving pieces. They strayed away from his formula, which is play super fast, play super big. And I think this year they go back to their basics, and they also have two guys that can take them higher than they have had in terms of Brayden Burries and Koa Pete. Those guys are rare. You don't necessarily have All-Americans come to your doorstep all the time, and I think he's going to maximize that.
Yep. I you don't have to convince. Like I am convinced for sure. I'll add two things why I had Arizona at 6. One, the March thing is a big piece for me of like, if you're looking at just the power rankings, well, I want teams who are going to succeed in March. I don't think Tommy Lloyd has a hard ceiling, but he's had a hard ceiling with their style of play, and he's shown an inability to get past a certain point, even as a 2 seed or a 1 seed, whatever it is. So that worries me a little bit. And then also, like, if you're looking at just Big 12 play, BYU is a great example. Like, by Big 12 play, I hope that they have figured it out by then. If they haven't by then they're really in trouble. But that's a big part of it. I think I have them at 3, behind Texas Tech, because I think like, all right, great. Big 12 standings at the end of the year doesn't start till January, whatever, maybe December. But hopefully in the first month and a half, 2 months, they kind of figure it out. And I do like them. Now that I was thinking about trying to get out to the BYU Arizona game. It's a Monday night special in Provo. Now that we talked about it, I think I'm going to make it happen because I was like, oh my God, there's going to be 300 points in that game. It's going to be great.
Hey, let me know. I'll be there.
All right. We'll do.
Okay. Well, we've talked about the high end possibility. I gave my landscape of how they're going to do analytically. We're going to talk about what goes wrong. Like what goes right is what I just laid out. I'm going to have Ryan tell you what could go wrong and why they could fall to 6th and what that seed line looks like. All that and more coming up on Locked On Wildcats. Mazda crafts cars for those that do more than simply just move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every single model with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV that you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back, Leaf Tulane and Ryan Hammer on Locked On Wildcats. Ryan had the Wildcats lower than I do. We each gave an initial pitch as to why we each think we're right about it. And I don't necessarily disagree with your take, and you didn't necessarily disagree with my take. So the floor is yours. ISO ball, clear out. You tell me why you see them as lower, but more so lean towards what does getting the 6th seed in the Big 12 mean in terms of the March standings? Like, is that a 4 again, and what goes wrong for them to be there?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say ISO, who gets the last shot, and I was like, it's actually a great question. Like,
that is a good
get
question.
The last shot. It depends if Koa can the outside shot develops more, whatever, but not the question. Yeah, I think low end is 6. Like that is their floor. I think low end is 6 and like a firm 6, but I see the bad things happening. Them finishing 6th is probably just like a tiebreaker or a game behind an Iowa State or whoever's in 5th or 4th. And like we said before, where Houston went 19-1 last year in the Big 12, Iowa State, I think it was, went 15-5 at 2nd. Like that's a crazy gap. Houston could go 19-1, but realistically, I think all 6 of those top 6 teams win at least 14, 15 games next year, and none of them win 19. So I think you're looking at almost like when you see the Big Ten and like the Mountain West teams, like it's just like a dogfight in those top in like a certain bunch. Where I think the Big 12 last year was kind of like fluid throughout, where like it really should be these 6. Could someone else crack in? Maybe, but these 6 are unbelievable to me. So I think it's super thin margins. Things don't go their way where they can't win away from home. Maybe the freshmen have struggles because they are freshmen, even though all 3 of them should be awesome. Maybe Aristode's not ready to play big minutes offensively, so he can't be on the floor a ton. And then their defense kind of drops a little bit. But it's probably within the freshmen is where things go wrong. And then maybe in the front court where they're not getting enough defensive presence if Krivas doesn't like take this massive leap like he probably will, and like we already saw against St. Mary's a little bit. But I think if you don't get a massive lead from him, and if the freshmen aren't completely ready, so
I agree with one of those. The other thing I outlined from the St. Mary's game is the shooting. I mean, they went 4-16 from 3, and 2 of those were 2 pull-ups from Bradley, who went 2 of 2, and he's known to not be necessarily a great shooter. He definitely wants to drive more than he does to shoot. So Anthony Del Orso, to me, has to really knock down some threes, as well as you need some Brayden Burries threes. But I think Ivan Karchenkov is someone that we haven't mentioned yet today that I think is going to really help knock down some threes. I think he's ahead offensively than where Aristode is. Aristode is more of the KJ Lewis mold, if you will, in terms of he's going to bring energy and defense, but I don't think the offense is really there yet. I think young KJ Lewis. And then the other thing that I think has to go right for this side is limiting turnovers when playing as fast as I think they will. I think that Bradley is pretty good at that. It just doesn't come with as much passing. Like his limiting of turnovers means that there's less adventurous passing. And that does concern me a little bit. But I do think the evolution of Jaden Bradley has me thinking he'll be at least second team all Big 12 guy. And I know it's really hard to make a Big 12 thing, but if Arizona is as good as I think they can be, then they need to get someone on there. So I think he's the most likely to be on there just due to the amount he'll have the ball, his defensive chops. So I agree with you. Those are the concerns that I have, plus the shooting. Are you at all concerned? This is a comment that a listener gave. So I think they're going to be an excellent rebounding team. Last year, they were top 15 defensive, an offensive rebounding and rebounding margin. So very, very good. And that's all of the country. So top 7 probably of power conference teams. And the other ones that were power conference teams, they made the Final Four. 2 of them made the Final Four. 2 made the Sweet 16. And then there was St. Mary's who won a round and someone else who won a round. So 6 of the 7 top power conference teams ended up being fantastic. And like, that's the method to me. But someone made this point that Arizona usually has a huge 3 to help them rebound. And Anthony Del Orso is playing the 3. Are you concerned about rebounding there? St. Mary's out-rebounded Arizona in their scrimmage. I'm not really concerned about it. I'll preface it with that, but I think it is worth a thought.
Definitely don't worried about the scrimmage. Scrimmages are scrimmages, and St. Mary's rebounds the hell out of the ball. They always do. I wouldn't be worried about that at all. If it's Del Orso the 3, yes, but also like Koa is going to be a monster, and I think at some point Aristotle is going to be the starting 3. I see him similar to more of a Carter Bryant than a KJ Lewis. Actually, if anything else, I don't think it's not the same player like Carter Bryant's not really like it's hard to be an exact same mold, but in terms of where the offense might be sporadically good in terms of shooting and efficiencies, but he still is going to play a great role offensively, great screener, high energy, hit the glass. Then defensively, he's going to be an absolute menace, and you can plant him on anybody. I think at some point in this season, Tommy Lloyd's going to look at him and be like, that man needs to be in the starting lineup, and we're going to figure out a way to put him in. He can shoot the ball, so if he's shooting the ball well, then you can play him at the 3, and all of a sudden, there's your big, strong lineup that is going to be hard to beat. So.
Yeah, I see that vision as well. I've had many commenters say that Aristode is going to be better than Carter Bryant even. And I haven't quite been there. I was on the Carter Bryant train very early last year. I said when he was projected in the second round of mocks that I had him in my lottery as an NBA draft guy. So I felt very confident about Carter Bryant. I would be shocked if Aristode is a lottery pick level guy like Carter Bryant was. But if he is, there's 3 freshmen that are lottery level talents, and you should be firmly contending to make the Final Four. So final question I got for you. Barring injury, what is the biggest issue that you see happening? So like we both said we think Krivas is going to take a leap. So what do you think the biggest issue is that would keep the Cats from making it to, let's say, a Sweet 16 or a top 6 seed in the Big 12?
Yeah, it's a great question. The biggest issue, I think, is just the overall sloppiness and the pace and the turnovers that you mentioned. I think it's a super simple part of basketball. I'm a big pace guy, as you know, with the trapezoid. It stems from me being all about pace and kind of playing very intentionally. They will play intentionally fast, and I think that will give them a clear ceiling in the tournament. Regular season, they're going to do great no matter what. Even if they get a 2 seed, 3 seed, whatever. If they're playing that fast pace with the high turnover rate, I just don't. That's going to be their downfall. It was the same for Michigan last year. It's the same for everybody that plays a fast pace. You have a sloppy game. You're not completely on offensively. You play a good defense, and all of a sudden it's over for you. So
That's a good comparison. I mean, Michigan won the Big Ten tournament. They were one of the better teams in the Big Ten, and then they made the Sweet 16 and gave Auburn a run for their money. So that wouldn't be a failure. But I think Arizona's got higher expectations this year. I think they should have higher expectations because I think this is the most talented roster that Tommy Lloyd has compiled. I would say he inherited the year that they had Benedict Mathurin and Christian Coloco. And I think this is the team that can make the Final Four. Things have to absolutely go right. But I think that Sweet 16 is kind of the floor for this team, assuming that they're healthy. And anything beyond that, you just got to get the right bounces and do it all. So thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we can run this back and, check in, see if they are in the trapezoid. I'm hoping they are. And I know all the Cats fans are hoping they are. So thank you for hopping on, and hopefully see you in Provo for that game.
I'm doing my best. For sure. Appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening and making Locked On Wildcats your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On the Big 12. Drake Toll breaks down the most exciting conference in college sports, from the rivalries to championships and every game in between. Find Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.